Hey, this is Matt from InvestiQuant. Today is Friday, November 6th, 2020. And today was a non-farm payrolls report. We had that number come out this morning, and the markets reacted positively to it. We still ended up gapping down lower, but we were down a good amount prior to the release of the number. And since then, we rallied. After the open happened, though, we got a small test lower just beyond yesterday's low and have since kind of quieted down throughout this afternoon session as we kind of drift back up towards yesterday's close. But we've really had a fairly quiet session with the exclusion of just right there off the open where we did have a little bit of selling. Other than that, it's been fairly quiet. We've got about 33 points of range in the S&P, which is a nice range historically speaking. But relative to what we've been seeing, it's quite a bit quieter than what we've had in recent sessions. So it's been a little bit more of a quiet session on this non-farm payrolls report day. So I figured we would look at that study and see what has happened going into the close when we have a quieter session relative to what we're used to in a similar environment on non-farm payrolls report day. So let's set this up. I'm going to go into Discover and I'm going to select all four instruments and use an intraday time-based entry, and we'll move this out to 3 p.m. Eastern Time. The trade type will be long at 3 p.m. and it'll exit at 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Now, since we opened pretty close to the prior day's closing price, it was down a little bit in the futures, but relative to the 4 p.m. close, it was pretty close to that. So I'm not going to add anything on opening filters, and that'll also help keep more samples in here. I'm simply just going to skip over this section that I normally use, and I'm going to go straight to the post-open filters. And I'm going to say that the intraday range is less than 75% of the 5-day ATR. So I'm going to come into this box right here, type in the max range of 75%. Currently, we're at about 40%, so we're well under that at the time of this recording, while we have about 33 points of range. The 5-day ATR is around 80-ish points right now, so we're well under this and likely to be well under this at the time of 3 p.m., which is what the study is based upon. And then next, I'm going to go into indicators. I'm going to put us in a similar environment, so I'm going to say that we are above a 10, above a 200-day simple moving average. And then lastly, I'm going to hop into the market events library where I can say that today was the NFP report. I'm just going to grab that from over here on the far right active today section and then hit view results. And here we go. So these are the results of going long at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, exiting at the close, 4:15 p.m. Eastern Time. When it is non-farm payrolls report day, you're in a bullish environment defined as above a 10 and 200-day simple moving average, and your intraday range is quiet relative to what you've been seeing. So less than 75% of the 5-day ATR is what the daily range is. So historically, that gives us 48 samples in the S&P, 46 in the NASDAQ, 46 in the Dow, and 34 in the Russell. If we take a look at the win rates on those, you can see all four of them are favored to the long side here. So the S&P with a 60% win rate for entering at 3 p.m. and exiting at the close. The NASDAQ's a little bit less, 57%. The Dow, 61%, and the Russell, the strongest of the group, at 76% on its 34 samples. If we take a look at the average win, average loss, there's really not a big difference in these. For the S&P, they're about the same. For the NASDAQ, they're about the same. The Dow has a slightly larger average win to average loss, and then the Russell is pretty similar in size for the average win and average loss, but not really seeing any of those skewing largely on the win or loss size there. However, the win rates are favored historically into the close when you have a quieter range on non-farm payrolls report day in a bullish environment. So hopefully you found that helpful. Good luck the rest of the day, and we will see you next week.